Hello, hello. If you're watching this, you most likely are seeing this either in Mighty Networks. I do intend to plan to post on YouTube as well. My intention to get us started is to really share my heart launching the book club. I don't even have the book in front of me. I meant to do that. The book that we're reading is The Radical Guide for Women with ADHD. I'll have the link somewhere, or if you're in the group, you already know about it. That is the book that we're going through. And I don't know about you, but in the ADHD space or with the ADHD brain, I have attempted a few book clubs in my life. Actually kind of a lot. I find that they do help me like move through some books. If you were to ask me, have you ever done one successfully? I don't know. Like none of them come to mind that I've like, I did it perfect from start to finish. Like that's just, it's always been I do really good at like the first two with like all the hope and all the ambition and like all the drive. I aspire to keep up and like I want to. And then like week 3 happens and then I just don't. And then catching up just seems impossible. And then by the end, I'm just done. And so I don't know if that's you, if you've come to find that, you know, reading works for you and book clubs are your favorite place and you like get to go through all, like we need you. Like if you're here in the group or if you're out in the world with book clubs, like we need you to show us that it's possible. And if that's not you, know that you're not alone. And also what showed up is this comment. And if you said this comment, know that it's not personal because it's something that I tell myself all the time. And I'm just discovering something newly is I'm going to try really hard. I'm going to try really hard this time to see if I can do it because I have all this evidence that it doesn't work. And so if I can try really hard, it will work. And I want to say something for those of us with an ADHD brain. Trying really hard decreases our cognitive function. I know it's not the most funnest thing to hear because that's what we do. We figure it out, we try really hard, and then we produce some sort of results. I was listening to a podcast this morning that spoke to the mechanics behind this, which I'm just so excited about because I didn't have this information before and now I do. And just the way it came about couldn't be more perfect timing. Trying really hard produces short-term results. It's a fact. And in fact, in the ADHD space, stress reduces ADHD symptoms. And I would say interest stress. It can't be just like any stress. It has to be stress that you're actually interested in. So if you're joining this group, you probably have some interest. And if you have any shame from historical actions when it comes to reading books, you may be adding some stress to like, okay, I'm going to try, and you to go in your brain, all the things and really like wanting to do it. So that pressure stress is there. Totally can produce some short-term results. However, when we are motivated by trying really hard, and we are motivated from a place of, I can't, so this could be me and I'm going to fix it, long-term results are not necessarily the case. And if you're anything like me, if you look at my long-term results, especially when it comes to book club, such a thing. So when it comes to this launching the book club, I want to do this a little bit differently. I think it's perfect because it's the content of this book when it comes to radical awareness, acceptance, compassion, working through shame, which is very much the message I preach. That this is a book that's going to give us, like, from a psychologist's perspective, from people who have been in this a long time, who have ADHD brains, who have done the work to really give us some hard data when it comes to this world. So this book club is the opportunity to try this on in the real world and to see what's possible when we take off the shame. Because you can try really hard without shame, but it won't feel like trying really hard. It's when you get that like high, you know, it's like I'm doing stuff because I'm so lit up about this. I can't stop. You can't get me to stop talking about it. It's that hyper focus engage where you have like the desires and ambition and you aspire to these things and there's no shame. So you just kind of run. That's what I want to invite us into. Will it be possible right away? I don't think so. I think we have deeply conditioned ourselves when it comes to all things in the world of producing results to shame ourselves. And so this whole thing, and it's something I love to say all the time, is how you do anything is how you do everything. So this book club could be the space where you try on moving through some shame spaces. And if you hear any of this right now and like shame is that voice, I wanted to dig into a couple of things. I'm also going to share the podcast that I just listened to because it couldn't have been more perfect, but I'm going to share some high points by chance the podcast doesn't show up as a possibility, because no shame there. So really what I want to share is that self-compassion is the solution. One thing that shows up for me in self-compassion is this, like, I'm making it about myself. Like, that's what shows up. And this is a ego inner critic voice. It's the other side of it where, inner critic's going to make me feel bad or whatever. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling bad about myself. So let me have compassion for myself. Well, then my ego inner critic's like, well, you can't have compassion about yourself because you make it about yourself. And this was a lady who has, she is some sort of professor or something. She has credibility and also does scientific testing when it comes to self-compassion. And self-compassion actually lets you step out of the role of inner critic and self so that you can show up and not make it about you, which I didn't have a conception of that. So I don't know if that ties in exactly how I was there, but it's something that's really, really moving me. And then she talked about what is self-compassion. So I guess the intention here is to invite you into the possibility of self-compassion inside of this container of this group, because I know myself and I'm going to try really hard. And I know myself too. Like, I am no different, y'all. Like, I'm working on launching this group with y'all, and I'm got my inner critic going, like, they're not going to show up. This is going to happen. I mean, I know your brain. I have it too. It's like I'm so afraid of creating containers like this because I know in 3 weeks, the like whatever typical time where interest has waned, the stress has waned, you can no longer sustain it. That short-term result burns out. The long-term projection of most of us with ADHD when it comes to a book club is that we're all going to burn out and not do this. And self-compassion gives us the capacity to not burn out, which was just revolutionary for me, that it gives me the ability to have a balanced stance, to assess reality accurately, and to not get burned out because I'm actually connecting to others when I'm self-compassionate compared to trying to shame-base and like perform. Like, I just am. I'm going to be the way that I am. So that is the space and container I'm wanting to create here, and why you'll see in this book club, there's not a reading plan. There's not a, you need to do this chapter this week and we'll check in next week. No, we are having a container of a book club for you to show up, whatever calls that you can make, and share what you're discovering. If you're discovering that you can't read the book, I say that because we say can't with shame. If you're discovering that you're not reading the book, that's reality for you. Like, what does it look like to apply some self-compassion there and discover, do you even have the space to read the book? Are you having a component of criticizing yourself? Like, you should be able to do this book in this season. Like, there's so many variables that can show up, and each of us are going to have a very, very, very unique path and stance. And those of us with ADHD can always do what we're authentically interested in. And so when we have self-compassion, we actually can connect to ourselves and actually see, what are we even interested in? And we'll always have proof and feedback of what we're interested in. It is a matter of, is that interest aligned or not aligned? This is actually TikTok I'm wanting to create probably today. This concept of like, I get so distracted. What's the other one they use instead of distraction? There's another one that's like super shame inducing, that you can't pay attention, and my attention goes other places. There's another word I'm missing if it's ringing true to you. I'm sure you have it. But this distractibility. I, for one, personally, and why I get so passionate about language is that the concept of distractibility, instantaneous, is like, I'm bad. I can't do this. I'm inadequate. And what is shame? Shame is the belief that I'm bad. Because guilt is, I did something bad. I'm not bad. I did something bad. I feel guilty. Shame is, I am bad. I did this. I am bad. So distractibility, in a nutshell, for me, how it shows up is, I'm bad. I'm broken. I have this disorder, and this is how my brain works. And the impact of this brain wiring and chemistry and the reality of it being a disorder is very, very, very real. It's not to be dismissed, and not to say that it's just not a thing and just get over it and you're fine, just self-compassion will heal you. No, there's a very, very real impact. But how do you meet that impact? Do you meet it with shame, or do you meet it with compassion. And every moment is an opportunity, and you will simply go with your default in a moment. And that awareness that default is there, and then compassion showing up as a possibility and choosing it, like there's a whole thing there. And I will say that whole nose itch, that whole thing can show up as way too complex. Like, how do you even do that? And that's one thing that I am discovering in this, what I'm out to do is create, like, what is the literal steps? And so I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways, because if I have it pulled up, I'll do it, because I actually came up with steps yesterday. I didn't want to go into this, but I'm going to, because I do think it will serve y'all. And it is literally the content I'm out to create for the world. Like, it is my message. And this book is going to give us some very, very tangible steps and some very tangible content and just ways to work through it. And this is, I don't know how it fits in per se, and it's going to kind of overlap. And you're going to know this is how I work. So the first step is awareness. And I said that yesterday. And actually, as I was listening to this podcast, I see a different step. The first step is showing up, because you can't be aware if you don't show up. And so I first want to acknowledge that if you're watching this, you are showing up. Like, yes, you're showing up. So you already check the box. It's done. You've already done I believe, some of the hardest work of simply the shift of showing up and believing that you're worthy, believing that contributing to yourself, believing that putting time into a space like this, that you are worthy. I mean, you are believing that. That's a belief you have coming into that. You may doubt that worth. Totally possible. You may question it. You may have a subconscious that's like, nope. The inner critic may be like rejecting that reality. But if you signed up for this book club or sign up for anything that I share, and you're showing up, there is a belief that you are worth something in there. And the biggest shift that I want to have as you start there, and really actually my message too, so this is funny because it's just, could it be more true or perfect, is, oh, this is so cool, because I discovered it yesterday. Getting to say it out loud and have it align so powerfully is awesome. Okay, my message in the world, what I do, this is what I do. Get yourself before you fix yourself. So if you showed up here today and you were with the intention of, I want to fix myself, I want to read this book so I can be fixed and we'll be good, that was your intention, I want to invite you into getting yourself. And getting yourself is a world of self-compassion. So it's new. And what does new feel like? It feels like a threat. It feels dangerous. It feels all the things. Like, new is scary. And so I want to invite you into that and say that you're safe. And this is a shift that I had recently that made a massive, massive difference. I lived from the place of, it's not safe to be myself. And so I went through the process of like collecting proof. Like, could I collect proof that it's safe to be myself by like showing up on TikTok, creating a Facebook group? I mean, even doing this in a way too, is me being like, could it be safe to be myself? In that journey, a shift that showed up for me was going from wanting to be safe to the fact that I am secure. And if you're anything like me, insecurity rules the moments of my day. And insecurity, which also found in this podcast, which was super passionate or super amazing, if I can find it here, insecurity is this concept of being two things. Being insecure is rooted in shame, because there's like, I don't know. There's two parts of me. I don't know which one is true. I believe that I'm bad, but I kind of believe that I might be good. I don't know. And that's that inner critic that's trying to get you to essentially live with both of those. And self-compassion says, yep, I got both. Like, I'm a human. That's how I was made. It's not shaming the inner critic. The inner critic is part of the process too. And so that is what I want to invite us into, is get yourself before you fix yourself. Insecurity is going to be along for the ride. Totally is. And so how or what does it look like to shift from, am I safe, looking for the proof that I can be safe to show up, to I am secure, so I am safe to show up. I'm safe to be me. And that is the space I want to create here, that this is a safe place for you to be you. Like I like to also say, I want to help you be you, and that I want to help you find security in self and self-compassion, and that there is a bottom to you as a way of like, there's a foundation. Because when we do the two worlds, the I'm good, I'm bad, the right, wrong, shame-based living, it's a very shaky foundation. And so I want us to find that here. So the process that I mentioned, kind of start from, so first show up. So I actually discovered that today. There was a step before that. So showing up And then it's awareness. And I do believe there's a level of compassion that allows us to be aware, because that's where mindfulness comes in, which is a trigger word for me. I don't like mindful, but what does mindful truly mean? Mindful means I am acknowledging what's in here is real, whether it's true or false, whether it's good or bad, whatever it lands on, doesn't matter. It's just what I feel here, I'm mindful of it. I so struggle with mindfulness because we have a very weird definition in our society of like a silent meditation. No, I just see mindfulness as awareness. It's mindful. Like I got a very full mind. So it's like, how do I see some of that? And you don't have to figure it all out today. Just pick one, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So you can just pick one and you're good. Okay. Awareness, then it's acceptance. This is going to be the first part of this book, massive radical acceptance. When you have acceptance, when you get to that space, we're going to be working on that. So don't feel like you got to arrive already. There's just acceptance for where you're at. Then it's authenticity. If I'm accepting where I'm at, what does it look like to be authentic? It is safe to be you. And how I see authenticity is this real life. What's real life for you? That is authentic. It's not judging or criticizing or whatever. It's showing up as you. And I got like 1 minute because I'm going to hop on the live and I wanted to have this recorded. After authenticity, then it's acknowledgement. It's acknowledging that that's the brain that you have, and having acknowledgement that that's real for you, and having acknowledged that you can only do what you're authentically interested in. So acknowledge your interest. And that's something I'll be having in the Facebook group. Where are you at with that? Then it's, what are your aspirations? This is a word for me I also discovered this week. Like, I can't make this up. Literally, I had my house cleaned this week. She left a little rock, which kind of gets me emotional because I feel like this is going to live with me quite a bit. She left this rock. I hired a cleaner for my house to believe myself that cleaning my floors was not meant for my brain. There's no interest. It was an acknowledgement of that reality. And in that process, she left this little rock, and I've never connected with this word before, ever. So I see it. I look it up. Aspiration. Direct one's hope or ambitions towards achieving something. So what do you want to direct your hope and ambitions towards achieving? In that also is acknowledging what is real for you. What's been your normal? What do you want to aspire to? Not perfection. Can I invite you into that? Let's not aspire to perfection, because we cannot and will not achieve it. We're setting ourselves up for failure, and it's not compassionate to have the standard of expectation or standard of perfection as our expectation. So what do you want to aspire to? Create that. Get some ideas. In the group, I will be helping us walk through that specifically. And then the words that you do is take the steps. Go do it. And that can show up as triggering, because the whole like, just do it. You're like, that's great, but I can't. Okay, this is where it's a little off script, because you're going to take action. And sometimes inaction is an action too. You're discovering. So what is the action that you're taking? What's your strategy? What do you want to do? It's coming up with what works for you. And you only can do what you can do. So what is that? What can you do? What shows up in your can do bucket? And what does it look like to create that? And go do it. See what you discover. Go do that. When you do it, you're going to get feedback. Did it work for you? Did taking the action that worked for you, did it produce the results that you wanted? Awesome. Take it. Rock it. Keep rocking it until it stops producing results. There is a time limit on most of the things those of us with ADHD do. So you may get excited that you found the solution. Just know the timer may run out on that working. So just trust that and know that going forward. And when that does, whether it works for you instantaneously and you're going to run with it for as long, or it didn't work for you, it's adjusting, shifting, going back to the whole process: awareness, acceptance, authenticity, acknowledgement, aspiring again, going and taking the action of whatever shows up in your I can do that bucket, and then adjusting. And you will align with what works for you when you do this. And it's what works for you. If not completing this book club works for you, own that powerfully. There is no shame here. If completing the book club perfectly works for you, own that powerfully. Like, that's something I'll do too, where I'll do something perfectly. I'm like, I can't be with that. No, celebrate. Like, what does it look like for us to come together and say, wow, You did what works for you. You did what works for you. And they were for different results. This massive, wild acceptance, this radical acceptance. And what does that look like? So this is going to possibly shift and make a very new reality for you. That is the message I preach to. Real life. This is real life. This is the process of it, from real life to whole life. And I want you to help discover you that. And I will say, get yourself before you fix yourself. What I may say may be lighting you up and making you feel real, real good. I hope that it does. And I am here for when everything else also happens. Like it's the compassion and the steps of compassion after. So I don't want to make false promises or have you buy into a dream that's unrealistic. I'm all about reality here. And I truly believe this is possible. And so I want to invite you all into that. And this book club will be the way. So, or one way. You'll discover it again. This is the message I'm going to preach. I literally put it together yesterday. Like, I'm going to say this for forever, I feel like, until I feel like I have it created, and then my brain goes on to something else. And yeah, it's my core, it's my foundation. And so I will continue to say this over and over. So don't feel like you got to get it today. It will be interwoven in all of it. And so I hope that it serves you. I did not know any of this was going to come out of my brain today or my mouth. So there you all go. Enjoy, take care, wishing the best. I'm so excited for those of you that are going to show up in the book club. Like, I couldn't be more excited. And we get to create whatever we want here. No rules. So I want to invite you in that too. All right, take care. Hopping over to the live where we get to hang out and chat and go from there. Places.